All right. All right. Okay. This is gonna be my little looping tutorial. I mean, because people have been asking for one, and I guess it's fine. I've always wanted to make one. I'm being honest with you. I've always felt like I've struggled with explaining things, so bear with me with how this one's gonna turn out. But I'll give this my best crack. All right. I'm gonna keep this extremely simple, probably from the basics of basics. I'm assuming most people that are gonna watch this have a rough idea about how looping works, what DBD is, how the game works, etc., etc., etc. But I'm gonna start off extremely simple. So we all know that Dead by Daylight is a 4 versus 1 asymmetrical horror game, right? You got 4 survivors, you got 1 killer, right? And obviously, objective is to do 5 generators, get the doors, get out. Great, without being caught or hooked by the killer, right? Now, looping is something survivors do to waste the killer's time. Just want to make that clear. Looping is nothing more than wasting the killer's time. Okay. Now, being a good looper isn't something you pick up in 100 hours. It isn't something you pick up in 1,000 hours. It is something that you pick up, get a holding of, get a mastery of once you have thousands of hours. Now, considering that I have 4,800 hours in this game, and I've been playing ever since the game's been released, so I've been through all the double palettes, all the, infinites, all that sort of shit, from all the way from 2016 all the way up until 2020. And I feel like now I just want to make one. I wanted to make a video on this. Okay, so in my opinion, keeping in mind this is my opinion, you can disagree with everything I say. You can say that I'm completely wrong. That is entirely up to you. Honestly, I couldn't care less. So, first main thing about looping is jungle gyms. I'm going to come over here to my first highlight that I've gotten, because I think it's quite a valuable and quite important one that we can get a rough idea about jungle gyms. Now, for those that don't know what jungle gym is, it's essentially a pallet in a window. Essentially, it's a pallet in a window. In simplistic and simple terms, like, so as you can see over here, we've got our window, and to our right, we've got, or to our right behind us, to my right, we're going to have the pallet, right? So one of the key and main important things that I find that looping, like, the looping is based around, like, and this is why I say that it's not something you just pick up with hundreds of hours. It's something that's going to take you thousands of hours, right? Is because looping is different for almost every single killer. Almost, considering that some killers have the similar sort of playstyle, generally means that you can adapt the same sort of playstyle to several killers. Others you can't, right? An example would obviously be a nurse. You wouldn't loop a nurse around and around like a jungle gym, because she'll just blink through a wall and hit you, right? Obviously, make too much sense to try and loop someone like that, because she has different abilities compared to someone like Trapper. Trapper can place bear traps and he can move around 115% speed, but he can't blink through walls, right? So obviously you're gonna play differently from a nurse than you are to a Trapper, right? So having knowledge on all the killers based on how their power works, how the average player that plays that killer plays, and what countermeasures you can take to obviously wasting their time. Now, the reason why you're wasting their time obviously is to buy time for your other 3 teammates who are hopefully working on generators. If you're in solo queue, this is a different story. Okay, in solo queue, people, you know what solo queues like. People don't do things properly. Okay, people will open evade around the map. People will take out totems even though it's, there's no ruin or things like that. Like, I guess you could say it's prep for NOED, but look, you can save that for later when you need to, right? The main important thing, excuse me, about pressuring a killer is getting that good start, right? And that is actually really, really key against some killers. Killers can stomp and get a good start. However, as long as you prioritize generators, sometimes over teammates when there are hooks, even letting teammates go second stage to push out some generators to apply more pressure will help your team recover and recoup, okay? Now, in this match, we have an Oni, right? Now, the way Oni works is that after 2 hits and about a few more droplets of blood, he gets his power ready, right? Which he has a distinctive sound for. When Oni uses his powers, you can see him there in top right. He has a red glow around him. Now, this enables Oni to move around the map at about roughly 196.6% movement speed, right? That is quite quick, not as fast as Billy. Billy is 230% movement speed. However, Oni can turn at angles to about 90 degrees, which is really goddamn strong when it comes to any other loop that isn't a T-wall and L-wall, which is what I'm running right now. You can tell it's a T1 L based by the shape of this, the loop next to me being a T, and the shape of the wall on the right with the window being an L, which is why it's called T1 L. Now, the reason why I automatically, first of all, straight away stick towards this loop is because I know that it's greater than 90 degrees. I know that I can turn the corner and go past 90 degrees, which is exactly what I did here against the Oni, which he couldn't counter, right? Because Oni can't turn greater than 90 degrees. He can turn to the 90 and then lunge and turn a little bit further, but he can't zoom around that past 90 degrees, which is really key and really great against Oni. It is really crucial and really important, right? And I know that based because I've played Oni myself. I've played against him several times, therefore I understand how it works. This is why I say it's, you know, very key and important. You have thousands of hours in the game, and if you are willing to, you know, if you really want to get better at looping, you need to start learning. Okay, like, face it, no, there is no such thing as a good survivor who's never played killer. Okay, every good survivor that I know has played killer, and the reason why they play killer is when you play killer, you can apply your knowledge of being a survivor, and you can then start predicting how survivors are going to play. Start playing that. When you start predicting how survivors are going to play, you start doing better as killer. When you come across better survivors who start outplaying you, if you're actually paying attention to what they're doing and going, great, I didn't know about that move, great, I can now apply that move to my survivor knowledge just because I played killer. So there is a lot to learn from both sides of this, you know, both sides of the coin. One side being survivor, other side being killer. Even if you don't enjoy killer, you want to become better at looping, you want to become better at the game, you want to become better, you need to play both sides. You can't play one. You can't play survivor and, you know, you can become good, but you will lack potential and you will never reach your full potential as a good looper if you don't play killer. That's something really key and important. I play killer. I've played killer for maybe 1,000 to 2,000 hours in between my 4,800 hours of survivor. Then I've definitely done a lot more survivor than I have killer, but I've done quite a lot of killer, so I understand how every single killer works. I play every single kill that comes out, so I have a rough or general understanding how they work, what they can do, how someone's going to play as them, what someone might run on them, what to look out for, right? So against this Oni, I'm sticking around this jungle gem. I'm sticking around this jungle gem along and next to the tier 1 L wall because I know that he can't turn greater than 90 degrees. Now, you just saw me working this generator and you just saw me take a right turn towards the pallet, and I saw the Oni coming left, right? Now, the reason why I take a hard right is because I know that I can't, even if I'm like, there's no point in me going left. Why would I go left? Oni's going to come around the corner, he's going to zoom around, turning greater than 90 degrees very easily. He's going to lunge and he's going to down me. Or I'm going to hide around the corner, then he's going to stop, and I'm going to be forced to run back towards the pallet in a really awkward situation where there's a high chance he'll just lunge and down me. So I take unique pathing. Now, for those that do not understand what unique pathing is, it's another part of looping. Unique pathing is a skill set. There's a skill set that comes along with taking pathing that is generally unpredictable. This is a good example of it. Oni thinks I'm going to try and go left and try and get around like a normal survivor. So I hit right around this side of the wall, and Oni's gone way around to the left, right? Unique pathing. It's something you will learn when you play against a killer called the Doctor. Doctor, he'll shock you around the loop, shock you around the loop. If you try and loop a Doctor and around a pallet in the window, he will eventually catch you. A good Doctor will absolutely outplay you and absolutely destroy you around, you know, around any loop if you just keep running around and around and around. Now, depending on how close the killer is and how much distance they have on you is when you decide to make the choice on whether or not you want to take unique pathing. Now, because based on how much distance that Oni had on me when I was going around the corner, I knew that he would try and go left to cut me off. And I knew that I could preserve the pallet and save my resources, therefore buying me even more time, wasting more of the Oni's time, giving more of my teammates time to work on generators by taking that right path. I don't want to throw the pallet. I didn't need to throw the pallet. And then save the resources so I can come back and use it for later. Only use the resources when you really have to. That's another key thing about looping that a lot of people seem to misunderstand. A lot of people seem to misunderstand the fact that they get to looping and they go, great, lots of pallets, let's throw them down. Wasting time, right? I'm looping, right? I'm wasting time. Yeah, but the issue is you're throwing every single pallet in the vicinity, which means if you're solo queue and your teammates doing totems, your teammates aren't sitting on generators, you've got one guy who's sitting on generators, you might throw down 10, 20, 30 pallets. Exaggeration, you get my point, right? And before you know it, only 2 generators have gone. Killer catches you and hooks you. Right, great. Goes off, finds your teammates. Your teammates now come along to use the pallets that aren't there because you've already thrown them all down, expecting them to finish the generators. When they haven't, they go down 2. They get hooked. Then the killer rotates back to you, proxies you, your other teammates get scared, you go second stage and you die first hook, right? Now, like I said, there is a limit to solo queue, okay? Like, you can be the best looper in the entire world, but this is a team-based game, which means that in the end, you will have to rely on your teammates to push out generators, your teammates will have to rely on you to push out generators, etc, etc. However, you still can become a really good looper and change the outcome of the game based on how long you hold the killer for and based on how silly the killer is and how long they overcommit to you, right? So I took a right and the Oni has realized that and he's all the way over there and he's like, hang on, I've lost scratch marks, there's nothing here. He'll double back as we'll see him come around and he's still at his power. This is the part where I give the pallet. I stretched out that pallet, that pallet's lifetime by just maybe a little extra 10 seconds, extra 10, 15 seconds, maybe less, right? And you might think, well, it's only like 10, 20, 10, 15 seconds, not that much. That's a lot. 10 seconds is a lot on the generator. Just by me taking that right and not throwing that pallet, I've given myself an extra 10 seconds. That 10 seconds could be that adrenaline that you need, That 10 seconds could mean a lot later on in the game. You may not mean much, but if you make a lot of plays and a lot of looping plays, right, that save you those small increments of time, over time they build up and they'll make a massive difference. So now, based on the distance he has on me, I can't do anything about it. I could try another, go around the left side of the wall again, or go around the right side, but there's a risk of only charging his power or just going for a long lunge and downing me. Don't want to risk that. Play it safe. We still have 5 gens. First pallet's gone, right? First pallet's gone about 1 minute into the game. So 1 minute into the game, I've given away 1 pallet, which is not too bad. So 60 seconds on a generator. I now know that 60 seconds is roughly passed, minusing the 30 seconds or more that I spent, seeing on a generator actually getting the Oni to chase me. In fact, it could be even more. I now know that I have 3 teammates sitting on gens, hopefully, and they should have their gens above halfway, close to being done. I come back towards my tier wall and L wall and take this window. Now, the reason why I take this window is because of the play that this Oni can make against me. The Oni's charging his power, and I know he's charging his power, right? So I'm thinking, at first I was thinking tier wall, great, let's vault that. Let's get some distance and a wall between me and Oni. Then a second thought hit me. I was thinking, if this Oni charges his power and comes down around the right side of the T wall and comes right and I try to turn right and beat him to the L wall, there's a chance he's going to down me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come left. I'm going to take that, wall back into this jungle gym where I've already used the pallet. Why? Because he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. He gets ready to zoom down the right side, the right side of the T wall, exactly to where I would have vaulted, which is why I came left and gave him no chance to down me, force him to vault a window. There goes 1 generator. So great, I now know that my teammates are on generators and they're doing work, okay? So the main thing about looping, like I said, is the jungle gyms, who the killer is, what map you're on. What map you're on is also another key and very, very important thing that I don't think a lot of people take into account. A lot of people just get down and go, oh, I'm on a map, who cares? Let's just find jungle gym, right? A key thing for looping is knowing what map you're on, is knowing where's your closest jungle gym, where's your next pallet, where's your next this, what resources you're using through, whereabouts are you going around on the map, in the vicinity of the map that you're thinking about in your head. Now that's how I go about it. So I know that I'm on suffocation pit. I know I'm on suffocation pit, right? Which means, and I know exactly where I am in my little, you know, imaginary map that I have inside of my head. I know that I'm in the middle of the map towards the left side if we're going based on the direction my character is facing right now. And I also now know what resources I use. I also know where one or two of my teammates are based on that generator popping, which means I can assume there's maybe 1 to 2 teammates up to the top right of me, which is great. This means that I can now take the Oni down the left side of the map if I wanted to, quite safely, or I can keep him around the middle, and once they finish the jump to the right, I can take him up the top right side of the map, okay? So come around here, we're gonna take this here wall, cutting around. See, the Oni screwed up here. I was a bit lucky. He screwed up and he got caught on the wall because he prematurely tried to hug this wall way too tight, which ended up costing him. So that was quite lucky there. Right, we see him come around. I immediately cut down because I managed to get good distance on him, and seeing how he can't turn greater than that, come right back to the wall that he can't, you know, deal with. I'm sitting at the corner, I'm watching what the Oni's doing, seeing what plays he's going to make. I see him go through, I cut across. Oni could do a mind game where he could cut forward, double back and vault the window. That would have been an absolute good play from him, but he didn't do that. See, and the Oni not doing that gives me insight into how he plays. This is another thing I think is really, really crucial and key when it comes to looping a killer, is analyzing how the killer is playing. You know, is the killer doing advanced mind games? This Oni is not doing advanced mind games. This Oni is following me. He's following me, not doing anything special. He's not, you know, he's not double backing. He's not mind gaming. He's not hiding his light. He's not trying all these fancy moves and whatnot. He's simply following. He's following and he's relying on his brute power and force that his killer possesses, which he has now run out of and needs to refill on. See, but this Oni needs to land 2 hits, one on me and one on another fresh person to get his power gauge fill, or he needs to hit me and chase me for so long that he picks up enough blood to get another power gauge fill. So just based on that, I now know that I can recycle this tier 1L so many times because this guy doesn't do anything special. He doesn't double back, he doesn't, you know, make any sort of special plays. This is the kind of killer that does a bloodlust play. This is the kind of killer that goes bloodlust 3 around the loop and all that sort of, those sort of plays, you know, the plays that just don't work out for you, right? So this Oni has a lot of distance on me. He's catching up, he's getting close. He's got bloodlust 1, maybe bloodlust 2, right? This is where I know that I've got a choice. I've got a choice that I come up the right of this window and try and either fake it to get him to double back or fast vault it, or I got the window to my right, which looks like a more, you know, reliable fake play that I can make. And I know that I want to fake it just because the fact that he's got bloodlust and how much distance he has on me, which is why I come in at this angle, I fake it. Oni's already gone that way. He's got bloodlust 2, he's zooming. This guy's moving at like 122.5% movement speed. That's very fast. That's very, very fast, right? He already ran around the corner. Great, confirmed it. I come back and I take the window again. Right, keeping in mind now this Oni's getting around to bloodlust 2 to 3. This guy's soon to be moving at 125% movement speed. That is ridiculously fast. Now, I know that there's not really much I can do. I could have taken the window to the left, but one way or another, I'm getting hit. This is the part where I'm going to finally get hit. Oni, if I take the window to my left to the L wall, Oni goes around the side, moving at 125% movement speed and hits me. Right, which is why I decided I don't want to block that window up yet. I'm going to come back, I'm going to take this one, get that first hit. He finally gets his first hit. I also now know that there's roughly 2 to 3 generators again being worked on. The guy who originally finished his generator down there has probably rotated to the left side of the map and started working on gen here. The guys up there might have been split on 2 different generators and been working on that and have those extremely close. Right, this Oni is a follower. He doesn't think. Right, and the thing is if you want to be a good killer, you need to mix between following and thinking. If you can alternate and swap between following at the right time and then thinking at the right time, that's what makes a good and scary killer, because you become unpredictable. You become, you know, is he gonna mind game or is he just gonna follow? And that's when survivors, you know, start playing into your field. See, right now this Oni's dancing in my hand. Like he's just here doing a little dance, you know. I control everything. I'm taking him where I want him to go. I'm holding him where I want to go. I'm taking the right my windows. You know, I have this only in my hand, and he's losing the game. This guy's lost 1 gen, probably 2 or 3, and hasn't got a single hit here. Now, I did get cucked by dedicated servers or some kind of lag. He smacked and hit me through it, right? But that was, I just want to give you just a little bit of insight on that one little highlight I did of that only today. Well, a few days ago that I finally uploaded today on YouTube. We're going to come back and we're going to find a different one, right? I got a few 5 gen holds and some killers, which I think are very valuable in terms of looping. You're going to learn a lot, right? So straight away, one thing I know with this map is that it's Mother's Dwelling. Mother's Dwelling is the largest map in the game, but being the largest map in the game, the spread between pallets can be quite phenomenal, can be quite huge, which is not really a good thing, right? So this is, so on a map like this, automatically, regardless who the killer is, unless it's a nurse or, you know, or a huntress realistically, but even if it's a huntress, I'm going to look for a guaranteed stun. This is a sort of a map where the plays I'm going to be looking for are the ones that are going to give me guaranteed stuns. I can't afford to do a mind game play on many of these pallets, or a play where I'm going to try and run around a pallet and, you know, try and break away. I need a stun, and I need to break away in order to ensure that I can get enough distance on the killer to make it to the next pallet. That is something that's very, very crucial and key. And just want to add in a little thing here. Another really, really important thing in terms for looping is the perks. Okay, perks make up most of looping. Like, you can have all the skill you want, right? But if you don't have the perks, you're going to be very limited on what plays you can make and do. Okay, I like to personally run Iron Will, Dead Hard, Adrenaline. And if I'm in a Swift, I'll chuck on Borrowed Time because it's a bit of a team-based perk for that last one. But if you're looking for a pure looping build, you want to have those first 3. Now you can have your whole Deliverance, DS, Unbreakable if you want to, right? But that's not going to help you on looping. See, the 3 of those perks rely on, you know, 1 to 2 things: you getting hooked and you getting downed of what those perks rely on, which means they're not great looping perks. Your best looping perks are Iron Will and Dead Hard. Dead Hard, obviously, I mean, it's pretty obvious, lets you dash forward and possibly avoid a hit when it works. Iron Will mutes your grunts of pains by 100%, which means you're not making a single grunt of pain. That is great. Iron Will is really, really strong, and is definitely one of the most underrated meta perks there are. It is meta because of the breakaway plays you can make with Iron Will. I can vault this middle window and take a left and break away around the hill because the killer might be trying to mind game listening for my cries, only to flick the corner to find out that I've gained 10 meters, 20 meters on him because of Iron Will. Iron Will saved my ass plenty of times in terms of breaking away. If a killer mind games the crap out of you and moonwalks you, I've had plenty of moments where the killer literally moonwalks right past me because Iron Will, they don't hear me. They don't hear my cries. They moonwalk, they're too focused, they're thinking way too hard. They moonwalk right past me. They completely outplay me, but they don't know it because they run right past me and I just sprint away. I run off into a new jungle gym and get away. So on this 5 gen hold, we do have a doctor. Now, keeping in mind, he is a bit of a baby doctor. That's one thing to notice, okay? So you can see the way Doctor works is that he will shock you at pallets and just run through, right? This is where unique pathing is very, very key and needs to come in handy. So I know based on the distance the Doctor had on me, I needed to give the pallet to him. Doctor's one of those killers that can force pallets on you quite early, which is why you need to be really resourceful and really careful. You need to be careful with taking windows, you need to be careful with taking pallets, because he will shock you and he will stop you. A good Doctor is very scary. But the one thing that can work quite well against a good Doctor is breaking away. Good Doctor will, you know, spend a lot of time trying to fake, trying to shock. As you saw, perfect example just then. He tried to shock the window. He was thinking too hard, thinking I'm going to take the window. Me, just took a left and kept running. That cost the Doctor distance and time because of his decrease in speed from him trying to shock me, which gives me time to then make this pallet. I can literally make this pallet just because of that one play the Doctor did. He made a bad play. He's thinking too hard, right? Breaking away is key against Doctor. Come around the loop, Doctor's going to think hard, he's going to go for his shock plays. Alright, I haven't watched this in a while, so we'll see what he does. So he's thinking too hard. So straight away for this doctor, I already know, you know, enough information. I know the map. I know whereabouts I am on the map. I know who the killer is. I know how the killer works. I played the killer myself, so I understand how to play him well and what works against, you know, good survivors and what doesn't. And I also know counterplay against, you know, killer itself. Now I've learnt that based on this, on the way this guy plays already a few minutes into the game, that he thinks too hard. He thinks too hard. He's going way too hard in mind games. He's going way too hard in his power. He's overthinking. He needs to keep it simple, and he needs to just chase me. He could try and shock me and shock me and shock me, you know, around the pallet, but it would waste so much time. So we're going to break away to a T-wall and L-wall, and we're going to get a bit of information into, does this doc mind game? Does he shock, you know, to stop T-walls and L-walls? So now he's swapped his play style from thinking really, really hard to following. We now can see he's following. Like he's not tracking properly. He's not shocking. He stopped using his power. He's lost confidence in using his main power that makes Doctor Doctor. Right? So we'll see what else he does. He's going to get a guaranteed hit here because I made a bad read. He actually went to shock, but he hid his light for a few seconds, which made me think that he double backed, but when in reality he didn't. Right? Bad play by me. That's fine. This guy's lost 2 generators and gets a free hit. Notice how I also didn't give him the pallet there. A lot of mistake people seem to make as they pull down the pallet when they get hit, or as they're going to get hit, thinking or hoping that, you know, they're going to get away. I would only be doing that if you've exhausted your dead hard and you've got nothing left and you really think you can make it. If you know you're going to get hit, don't give the pallet. It's giving the killer a free resource that they want to get out of you. Like if the killer's walking behind you and you've got no dead hard, don't get there and go, oh, I can make the pallet, I got this. He's right behind you. He's going to hit you. He's going to try and hit you through it. He wants the pallet as well. Let him down you. I was fully healed, taking a free hit. Great. That's giving me a little bit of sprint burst, gain some distance on Doctor, and taking away even further towards some, you know, stronger loops. I've got a window here, another classic jungle gym. It's a little bit different, but it's nice. Okay, this sort of jungle gym is probably the worst jungle gym you can come in contact with. It's got a really, really short, you know, side to the pallet, which means if you pull down the pallet, 100% the killer is going to mind game you. Not good. You also can't get into a fast fall animation on the window because of the way the window's been placed. It's really not a great loop. However, if played right, it can still be done correctly. So we'll see what I go to next. So I have the pallet here, but I don't take it. I just don't take the pallet because it's Doctor. This Doctor could shock me on this, and I couldn't pull down the pallet for 3 seconds and get the easiest down of his life. I'm going to keep breaking away towards this jungle gym that happens to be right next to it. Now I know that I have a pallet to my right and the window to my left, so I want to force the Doctor this way and then go right into the window. I'm going to dead hard that based on distance because obviously he's going to get me if I don't dead hard it. So I dead hard it, take the window. Great. Unfortunately, the tree did get me stuck. Okay. That is, like, there will be times where you'll get unlucky placement of objects that will, you know, you can't account for. Like it could just be random RNG that you're going to run into. You can't do anything about that, okay? But luckily we get adrenaline, which gives us, you know, a bit of, it gives us a 1 health state from downed to injured and lets us sprint away 150% of our movement speed for 5 seconds. Very good, very great perk. And definitely handy and looping for that exact situation. Doc's finally caught me. Great. He spent the whole game doing it. And I get away because of adrenaline. Because he never ended up, you know, truly catching me. Alright, we'll come back and find another 5-gen hold. Or just another good one that I did. Yeah, here we go. I got one of Trapper. I'm curious for this one. All right, we got a cold wind farm map, so straight away, like once again, like I've said before several times, I know which map it is. I know whereabouts I am placed on the map. I know whereabouts pallets spawn on average. I do have a bit of a different build in this one. I think this was a bit of a redeemed build. I do have Dead Hard and Alert and DS and Deliverance. Like again, not my usual build, but it was probably redeemed at the time. But I still have Dead Hard, which can still, you know, go to looping. Now on that play there, based on how close Trapper was, that was a gamble play. There was no guarantee that that sort of play was going to work, but it was that or it was get hit, you know. So I ran to the window and then I just took a hard left. Trapper smacked the window thinking I'd vault it, which obviously was what I was hoping would do. I hid in the corner to juke him then, which is great because again, with how much distance he had on me, he's going to get a hit regardless. Unfortunately, I got stuck. That's great. We take him to a T-wall and L-wall. He's lost 1 gen as well as his ruin. This is the most key and important part where, again, you analyze how the killer's playing. It's really crucial and key and important that you analyze what the killer's doing, how they're playing, right? This trapper vaulted this window, okay? That gives me so much information into how he plays. I now know that he's an inexperienced killer because he vaults windows. And by that, I don't mean like, oh, trapper vaults every single window. No, I mean that he vaults a T-wall and L-wall window. You should not be vaulting a T-wall and L-wall window unless you have bamboozle. That is the only reason why you'd be vaulting a T-wall and L-wall window. So based on the fact that trapper is vaulting this, I've already gotten knowledge and information to how he plays. Now he does have bamboozle as well, which we just saw, which is great. And he just made another mistake. Right, he has bamboozle, great. What does that tell us? That means that trapper's going to vault every single window of every single loop that we come across. We know he's going to do that. Why is he going to do it? Because he's running bamboozle. You know, he will vault everything. He then came around and vaulted the other window, which was a mistake because that blocks that window up, but then frees up the other one. You can only block one window with bamboozle, so definitely a mistake by trapper. He keeps vaulting these, which keeps resetting these, so obviously he didn't understand that, right? Like I said, even though he had bamboozle, he gave me, you know, all the knowledge and information that I needed to know that he was inexperienced. And I know that I don't have to think too hard and do too many hard, you know, mind games or juke plays to try and outwit this trapper. I can keep this simple and he's going to make a lot of small mistakes like this that are going to hurt him. So we'll see what we do from here. Faked it, yeah. So a bit of a risky one because I needed to test it, but I do have dead heart and it's something you just need to test throughout the game. I faked it and paid attention to his red light. Trapper double backed, which is great, okay? That gives me even more knowledge that I even needed. So this time I'll vault it, and the reason why I'm going to vault it is because this is something I like to look into when it comes, you know, to analyzing how the killer plays, right? I don't really know how to describe this, and you could call it a gamble and you could call it inconsistent, but I use it a lot when it comes to looping. I faked it the first time, right? And trapper double backed. Now, based on the fact that I know he's inexperienced, the next time I come around, I'm going to vault it, which is exactly what I did. And he followed, okay? The trapper is now playing into my grounds. I've got him, like I said, you know, dancing in the palm of my hand, okay? So now for next time, I have a choice whether or not I want to vault the window or fake it. And based on the fact that I, you know, vaulted it last time, right? This time I faked it. I just faked the window and trapper ran right around. Yes, he ends up catching me, right? But you can see what I'm talking about. I faked it the first time, he double backed. The second time, I vaulted it. He committed and played it wrong. The third time, I faked it. He ran around, right? You can kind of see how the trapper starts playing into me and how I start mind gaming him and he has no idea where I am, what I'm going. And he loses track of time. So he's lost 2 generators and finally catches me. And I used 0 pallets. I used no pallets that entire run. So straight away from this, with like one experience, this one little run in with trapper, what do I know? I know he runs bamboozle. I know he vaults every single window. I know that when it comes to mind games, he's lost 3 out of 3 of them, which means I should be pretty confident and pretty safe in making the right judgments for mind games. You know, based on the previous one that I made, I can generally do the opposite one, which will catch him off guard and work, right? He's also lost 3 generators for 1 hook, right? So we'll see what play he makes. So he goes off to search for the jet person who fears the gen. She comes in, sneaks a save on me. I think at this point I do a DS locker play, which is not really valuable information. I think we'll just skip past this and see if there are any other looping parts to this. I don't know if there are. DS, I think. Right, okay, I'll come around to this one because I think it's pretty important. Right, so Trapper's coming after me because I slapped him with DS, right? Okay, we've come around to a little loop here. I like this loop personally because it's small, but it is really safe. So I get dead hard, right? Every time I have dead hard, I will not pull down the pallet. I'll run through until I see that the killer has stopped respecting. Based on the distance they have on Trapper, I'm running through. He runs through. Great, we'll come around for a second one. I know on the distance this Trapper has on me that I can run through the pallet and he will not hit me. His lunges there, I'm already on the other side. I could pull it down right now, but we're not going to because he's going to hit the pallet. This time when we're coming around, now we're going to give it to him, right? Again, saving that extra small second or two for a resource of the pallet, it adds up, it stacks up. That extra second or two after 5 pallets becomes 5 seconds or becomes 10 seconds, you know? After 10 pallets becomes, 10 seconds becomes 20 seconds. Like it all adds up. Now, instead of sticking around that loop there that I had actually run to successfully, I decided to break away and continue to gain time to run to more resources. Trapper's still coming in and I'm paying attention to where he was. Now, he was quite close, so I did throw it down just to be safe. At this point, my teammates have gotten, the gens done and they're all getting at the door, so I have free reign to throw down and use whatever pallets I please because it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, so Trapper went to fake to break it to try and mind game me while I quickly ran right. I paid attention, I listened, I didn't hear any breaking sounds, so I double backed this way to hold him hostage. He decides to place the trap, I decide to break away. She's coming in for the block, which is great. She'll most likely take a hit for me, hopefully. I can't really remember too well how this goes, but in summary, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna pull out my phone so I can refer back to my notes that I had written up. Okay. The point of looping is to waste the killer's time, right? In my opinion, that is having the knowledge of what map you're on, who the killer is, how that killer plays at the start of the game. Do they fall for mind games? Do they not fall for mind games? Are they a thinker or are they a follower? Do they follow you everywhere and not mind game at all? Or do they mind game a lot and think too hard? Right? When someone mind games a lot and thinks way too hard, that's when you break away. You break away from the loop and you run off to a different one. They think way too hard into their mind games and don't pay enough attention to where you are as a survivor, and that's when you break away. Even with Iron Will, muting your grunts of pain, great, get away. Someone who follows you is perfect. You take the windows, you make them vault the windows, you get the maximum potential out of the loop, get the pallet down, break away, gain distance. Now obviously, again, if it's someone like a nurse or a huntress, there are different forms and different ways to loop. Against a huntress, I'm not going to continuously take her around and around and around. I'll take her around the first few times, see if she pre-winds hatchets and things like that. But if she's not pre-winding hatchets and she's running through, then I'm going to need to get that pallet down sooner or later. But I need to time it right to the point where, she's not going to wind up and throw it over. So I might continuously go around and around until she stops winding up hatchets. Then I'll pull it down to catch her off guard. With a huntress, you need to mix up when you don't pull down the pallet early. That's definitely another key thing. Like I said, playing killers will help you get knowledge and information into how that works. You'll play a huntress yourself and you'll down survivors who are trying to loop you, and you'll go, oh, okay, this is how the huntress plays when I'm looping her. I don't want to make the same mistakes these guys are making. I should mix it up and not do this. Think differently. Take unique pathing if you have to, right? And the best perks that I would, obviously recommend for looping with Dead Hard, you got Iron Will, and then you can really go Adrenaline, and then after that, it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to make it Calm Spirit and remove your screams of you getting hit or you stepping on a trap or you getting shocked to confuse the killer even more. It's personally up to you. I wouldn't really be doing that. Keeping in mind what perks the killer is running, right? Killer's running Bamboozle, we know they're going to vault every single window. Killer's running Brutal Strength, we know they're going to break every single pallet because they've got Brutal Strength. Why wouldn't they do that? Okay, it's things like this that once you pick up these skills, once you learn unique pathing, once you learn how all killers work, how all their powers work, how that average person plays that killer, what you can and can't do against those specific killers, how to play differently towards those specific killers, example being Doctor taking unique pathing. And if it's someone like Billy or a Wraith or a Trapper who's 115% movement speed but can't do too many different things at loops, then great, you can just go around and around. You can still take unique pathing if you really want to mix it up, but you don't have to do it. Like you've got options. With certain killers, you are limited to specific ways to loop them because of the way they're designed. Example being Nurse. Like I said, you wouldn't loop a Nurse around a pallet. She can blink through it and hit you. You're gonna break away. You're gonna gain distance and try and keep continuously gaining distance, but also maybe sometimes doubling back. You're paying attention, you're watching the Nurse blink. If she's charged that blink a lot, double back and run in her direction. She then has a choice to either blink right in front of her or let go of that blink if she hasn't been paying attention, and she'll fly right past you 10 meters or so away. She'll then fatigue, you'll then keep running in the other direction and gain even more distance of wasting time on her. Again though, nurse is a bit harder, she's different, but you understand and get my point. The more you practice this and the more, you know, knowledge and information you develop, the better you'll get. But it is important that you do play both sides, killer and survivor. I get it, killer's frustrating, it's hard for everyone, okay? But it is very important. I can't stress enough that you do need to play some killer. Play some killer, play everyone, you know, play every single killer, have a bit of an understanding of how that killer works, how people loop you, what you can do as that killer to counter that, and then apply that knowledge to your survivor. If you're looping, you know, for example, a pig, right? You know that as pig, you can crouch and you can dash around loops, which means if you see a pig crouch, you'll break away, right? And she'll get there and she'll dash around and you're long gone. If you see that it's an experienced pig, she'll crouch and then maybe stand back up to bait you, to get you to run away from the loop, then she'll come and hit you. So you can wait for her to stand back up, continue looping her, or if she stands back up then crouches again, then you break away, right? It's things like that you'll pick up and learn throughout, you know, more playing and more time of the game. Anyway, I want to wrap that up. I do hope this somewhat made a bit of sense. Like I said, I'm not too confident when it comes to explaining things, and this is like the first video I've ever made in terms of explaining looping. I try to show a few examples to give you a bit of a rough idea. I don't think the examples were the best, but I did just want to slap this together in kind of one whole video without very many edits or very, you know, many too like, you know, complex things like that. I didn't really want to have to put a lot of thought into this. I definitely did put a lot of thought into this and took some time to think about it, but I didn't want to make it too complex, too hard to understand. So I do hope you guys got a bit of understanding from that. If you still don't understand what I'm talking about, I would really recommend just head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/uncharted with 2 underscores. Come watch me play. I'll be happy to run you through anything you're uncertain about in terms of looping, show you some examples. Stream every single day. I play Dead by Daylight every single day. You've got plenty of opportunities to see me loop killers. I mean, even on YouTube channel, there are plenty of 5-gen holds down below that you can go watch. And if you watch me play those, watch how I'm playing, realize the specific pathing I'm taking, realize how I'm playing, and apply that knowledge to your own game. Apart from that, I really thank you all so much for those who tuned in to come and have a look at this. I really hope this helped you out in some form or sense of way. I look forward to seeing you guys stream. If you want to come say hi, I'd really appreciate that. Apart from that, I hope you guys have a nice day or night.